Alan Root is my guest right now. Of course, author, speaker, champion of Donald Trump. Wayne, how are you?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm doing great. So,
Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas, absolutely.
We're allowed to say that now. You realize that, right?
I appreciate that. I do.
Trump, we're allowed to say that. And by the way, there's probably 1,000 things you want to talk to me about, but I wanted to mention right at the top, I wrote the book Angry White Male.
I do.
It predicted the whole Trump path to victory perfectly, and it also predicts what he'll do as president, and that was written last February, March, April, May. And it turned out to be exactly right. I think it's the perfect Christmas gift, by the way. Shameless plug. Has to be a shameless plug.
Has to be a shameless plug.
But I think what's funny is that former President Bill Clinton, did you see his remarks the other day? He said Trump is good for nothing. He doesn't know anything except how to get angry white males to vote for him.
Yeah.
So I think he's, the fact that his wife lost, he's got nothing to do right now, lots of spare time. So he's been reading, and he must have read my book.
I think
Angry
he did.
White Male.
What arrogance from the former president. I mean, he's
that's
clearly
my
bitter.
Whole point is that the whole point of the book was, first of all, if a whole race of people is angry, you think maybe they might have a point? Maybe there's a reason they really are mad. It's legitimate. You can't laugh them off. It's like saying, hey, 100 years ago, black people were angry. And, they have no reason to be angry. They're not slaves anymore. I guess they did have a reason to be angry. I guess they were treated pretty badly even after slavery. I think even conservatives can admit that. So when people are angry, there's generally a reason they're angry. So this dismissive attitude of the Democratic Party that you're just a bunch of angry white males, and the only reason you voted for Donald Trump is he's white and male. That's like me saying the only reason anyone voted for Obama is because they were black and he's black. Can you imagine how many civil rights groups and Democrat leaders would call me racist for making a comment like that?
Sure.
But nobody calls out President Bill Clinton for saying the only thing Trump knows how to do, he's got no talent. Yeah, it's worth $10 billion. He's got no talent. And he just won the election against your wife. He's got no talent. But he knows how to make angry white males vote for him because, of course, you're insinuating that they're white male and he's white male.
Sure.
That's it. So, number one, it establishes Democrats as racist. They hate white males. And number two, it establishes Democrats as fools because they've learned nothing from the election. We have legitimate grievances. You didn't listen to us. You lost. If you don't, if you continue in your errant ways, you'll never get a white male vote for the rest of all time, and it serves you right.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to be offended because, by golly, Donald Trump's an illegitimate president, and they tried proving that all the way up to the electoral vote by harassing these electors. I'm still not sure, Wayne, why the FBI isn't investigating some of the death threats that these electors received. I haven't seen a single story about that in any media outlet.
Yeah, liberals are nutty. They're unhinged. They say sick, radical things. Just so you know, I'm not Donald Trump. I'm not the President of the United States. I'm Wayne Root, a supporter of Trump, and I've gotten unlimited numbers of death threats, including a serious one where I brought the police in about 2 weeks ago. I mean, a really serious one that made me believe it wasn't just an unhinged liberal venting, in his underwear in his living room, but rather someone who seriously wants to kill me because I'm a big supporter of Donald Trump. So I called the police in. They're investigating. Their intelligence unit is subpoenaed. Who they subpoenaed? They subpoenaed Yahoo. That's where it came from. Yahoo.com is where it came from. They subpoenaed them to get the IP address of the email, and then they're going to have to subpoena the IP company to get the actual physical address of where the person is to go visit them and ascertain, is it a serious death threat or is it just a nutcase who's venting, a nutcase liberal venting in the living room. So when Wayne Root starts getting death threats and I'm not president, liberals are unhinged, and they went after the electors. I saw yesterday some Hollywood star. I don't watch much TV. I'm too busy working and paying taxes. So I don't know who she is, but I saw some female Hollywood star, young and female, made a comment that she just wishes she could have an abortion so she could, feel on the same side as all the feminist women in the world.
Lena Dunham, yeah.
Oh, is that who it was?
That's who it was,
okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, can you imagine saying such a thing? Look, it's not like I'm a big, even anti-abortion person, but to me, abortion really is potentially murder. That's kind of what it is. I'm a man. I'm lucky enough I don't have to deal with it, but it's murdering a baby. How can anyone say, I wish I could have an abortion?
Yeah.
How mentally ill must someone be? And I'm not a big anti-abortion person. I'm an economics guy who never deals with that issue and never talks about it. But that's a sick thing to say.
I made a similar point on her earlier. I read your article that you had in the journal, the Review Journal out there in Las Vegas, kind of comparing Donald Trump to this Uber trend. I want you to put that in your own words for my listeners.
Well, yeah, without having it in front of me, I'll just do it off the top of my head. The Democratic Party represents kind of the old ways, Uber, and Donald Trump is the new way. And by the way, I didn't even mention his campaign, but his campaign was Uber. I mean, it just disrupted the entire political process. It changed politics as we know it. It made everything in the past obsolete that we thought was true, and that's what Uber has done to the taxi cab business. And, I'm sure there's going to be a cab driver listening to your show right now. I'm sure they're a nice person. I don't mean this in a bad way. Matter of fact, it's not their fault. I like cab drivers. But the reality is government is very deeply involved in the cab business, and they demand huge sums of money to get a license to own a cab company. And that means the trip is grossly overpriced. When you get in a cab, first of all, you might be waiting in a long line. In Vegas, a few times in my life I lived here where I didn't, someone dropped me off at the airport, my wife or my kid or someone dropped me at the airport, and they weren't around when I landed, so I had to get a cab home. Thank God that's happened in 15 years of living here, like 5 times. Well, a couple of those 5 times I waited in a 1-hour line for a cab, and sometimes it was in 100-degree heat. Other times it was really cold in December like now, and you're waiting an hour for a cab. When you get in the cab, it's dirty. You don't even put your hand on the seat. It's so filthy. And it smells like smoke, and the driver doesn't speak English. This happens all over the country. I'm a businessman. I take cabs from the airport to hotels all over. So the reality is cabs smell bad. They're old. The whole system is archaic. The driver is rude. The driver doesn't speak English. And then they charge you double what they should charge you. Whereas Uber, the driver always speaks English. The driver owns his own car. The driver treats you nicely, very often offers me a bottle of water and a piece of gum. They've got a whole tray in the back where they offer things to people for free as part of the ride. And you see it arriving on your iPhone. You know how long it takes to get there, and you see it arriving.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing innovation that's put basically taxis out of business. The headline in the Vegas paper the other day was that taxi rides are down by 2 million in the last year in Vegas. Gee,
Sure.
I wonder why.
Well,
and so Trump is Uber. Trump represents the future of America, which is the private sector. Guys like if Mark, you, and me started a taxi company, it would be called Uber, and it would be just like what Uber provides. Right. Whereas the taxi companies are run by people who do business with government, and they let government rules and regulations triple the price of what the fare should be. That's the future of America, and that's exactly why people voted for Donald Trump, because I don't want a taxi. I want the private sector to determine how I get from A to B.
Yep, and we're already seeing that reflected in the market at almost 20,000, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too high on that one. I'm very careful on that one. You know why? Because I believe the market is grossly, grossly overpriced. I think people are underestimating the damage that Obama has done to the American economy, and I think the first 2 years of Trump are going to be like the first 2 years of Reagan, Mark. I think there's going to be a really bad 2-year economy, and then it's going to be the greatest economy of all time, just like Reagan's was. But first, you got to unwind the disaster of the communists that was in before you, like Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama. These are really dumb people. You realize today, Obama overnight put in regulation $6 billion against American business.
Sure.
This is a madman. This is a communist madman, and he's doing great damage. It's going to take a couple years to unwind this. So I think you're going to see a major stock market downfall. What goes up goes down, Trump or not. I love Trump. I'm the biggest fan of Trump in the world. But this is grossly overpriced. To assume it wasn't already overpriced with the terrible Obama economy, and then investors said, hey, it'll get even better now with Trump, and they made it go grossly higher again, when in reality, it really ought to reflect the reality of the economy, which is terrible for middle-class people. And it's tough to make a buck anymore, and it's tough to save a dime beyond taxes and health care, and it's very tough to start a business. I think you got years before this gets better, and I think even Trump, Superman, can't turn it around that fast.
Wayne,
so I think the stock market's in for a fall.
I got to run, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. The book is Angry White Male. You can get it on Amazon. Wayne Allyn Root. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, Mark. Merry Christmas.
All right,
God bless.
same to you. Thank you very much.